Okay, we're all set. Go ahead.
Okay, Joanne, thank you, and welcome everybody to the September 21st, 2022 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open, as we always do, with a roll call. Ms. Hofstadter?
Here.
Mr. Chiocchio?
Here.
Mr. Sylvain?
Here.
Mr. Renz is absent, Mr. Haas is absent, and Chairman Finaldi is here. So we have a quorum and we do not need to seat any alternates. What I will do now is read the virtual, the Zoom meeting intro, and then we'll get on to acceptance of the minutes. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have an opportunity to be heard and participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice prior to the meeting. Any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department. Those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches do sometimes occur. Please be patient if that happens. With that said, Commission members, the minutes of the September 7th meeting were previously distributed. Unless there's any discussion, I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Bobby Chiocchio made the motion. Ms. Hofstadter seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are accepted. Let the record show that our next, the meeting for October 5th, 2022 has been canceled. That is Yom Kippur, and our next meeting will be on October 19th, 2022. We have no new public hearings this evening, so we'll proceed right to our continuation of public hearings agenda. Item 1, G&J Partners, Danbury Retail Management LLC, application for special exception, site plan approval for 1 fast food restaurant, section 582B16, with 2 drive-through use, section E3E8, 3 medical office, section 582B14, and 4 cumulative uses generating over 500 vehicle trips per day, section 3E2, in the CG20 zone, 1 Sugar Hollow Road, G17001, special exception 788. Included in the distribution were links for the applicant's response letter, which was dated 9/15/22, and also a set of the revised plans. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Attorney Mizuko.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, commissioners. I'm here on behalf of the applicant this evening, and thank you for excusing us from the meeting 2 weeks ago. It enabled us to take a number of steps to move the plans forward to the city's specifications. In any event, as a result of comments that we received so far, we did submit a set of revised plans, which are at the planning department now, and our project engineer, Jake Modesto, will take us through that in a few minutes. He also responded to correspondence from the planning department and the engineering department. And there were a couple of open issues from before. One had to do with the request by the city engineer for some improvements to the traffic signal at the intersection of Sugar Hollow Road and Bacchus Avenue. I worked with Jen on that today and submitted a letter confirming that the applicant would be willing to pay $25,000 toward those improvements, and that if the commission sees fit to approve the application, we would accept that as a condition of approval. In addition to that, one of the items that Jen had flagged early on was compliance with FAA regulations. And we had some exchanges via email among me, the project engineer, and the airport administrator, Mike Safranek. And so and let me just read a portion of it into the record to give you a feel for where that is. I reached out to Mr. Safranek to explain where we were and to determine FAA requirements. And his response was, Ward, if there is no change in the height of the existing footprint or building, then there is no issue. But if the height of the building or anything on the footprint is increasing in any way, then an obstruction analysis must be completed. Signed, Mike Safranek. And then there was some emails between him and the project engineer and a phone call. And the concluding email is from Mike Safranek to Jake Modesto. And it says, Jake, thanks for taking my call today. As per our conversation, since there is not going to be any height increase, AGL, from the site, from the existing points, I will give my approval without you having to do the customary FAA obstruction analysis study 7460. If any point on the site is increased in any way over what is the existing AGL, then my approval will be withdrawn and a 7460 study must be completed. Sincerely, Mike Safranek. And Jake can fill in any gaps in that, but he has confirmed that there will be no increases in height. So I believe we've addressed a great many of the open issues and are, closing in on the final information that the planning department may request or the planning commission. If there are any questions on what I've said so far, I'd be happy to address them. Otherwise, I would like to call on Jake to tell us about the changes.
Any questions at this point, commission members? For Ward? No, proceed.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Beautiful. I'm just going to share my screen just so we can all take a visual look at the changes made. Just want to confirm you guys can all see my screen. It should
Yes.
be the site plans.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. So I'm just going to highlight kind of the major points. A lot of the back and forth was on the technical side, and just from a plan view, top down aerial, the primary changes that were made actually had to do with the parking configuration. Initially, what was shown was an existing easement that was located along the Kissen Brook. To clean up the application, make this a cleaner application moving forward, what the applicant has done outside of continuing to remove some of the parking areas and drive aisles on the north side or planned north side, the south side as well, they've actually drawn that and brought that in inside the property line, so there's no need to exercise that easement anymore. What that has resulted is the loss of 3 parking spaces. Total, we have 48 now on site. We're still compliant when it comes to parking required for the uses. We're at 37 that is required, where 48 is being provided. Again, overall, it's still going to continue to decrease impervious surfaces. So again, reducing our flow to the Kissen Brook. Speaking of stormwater, we did some additional stormwater analysis on the pipe network running through the site. Obviously, our site alone is going to be reducing flow rates to that system. There's also a system that basically is routed through our property that ultimately terminates within Kissen Brook. We did run a hydrodynamic analysis, and that was submitted within the report. There were some other subsurface connection notes that were added as far as the utilities, including connection locations within the right-of-way on Bacchus Ave and Sugar Hollow Road. Snow storage locations were indicated on the south side of the property, and then the northwest locations. So there's 2 areas that will be left over, along with the abundance of parking that we have on site. Additional landscaping was added to areas located directly adjacent to the patio area. And some other, we'll call it more minor items were taken care of throughout the plan set as far as notes and other items. We did run a truck turning, which would be an SU30 through the property. Just flip to that really quick. You can see it's able to actually go through the bypass lane and through the loading zone without any major conflicts. This is a conservative program when in nature. So with this being able to run through in the property, it's going to be, we're not going to have any issues when it comes to loading. And again, that was just one route. There's more space to the north with a larger drive aisle. So we picked the more restringent access way through the property. So that I provided an itemized response to each one of the review letters, including the construction official, Jennifer's letter, and the engineering department, with essentially everything addressed, with a few, I think, minor things left over that we'd like to just, as a condition of approval, agree to comply with. So if anyone has any questions on the revisions that were made or comments, can help out.
Any questions at this time, commission members?
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Helen.
I just thought of something here in terms of traffic flow. So if I remember, this is just, you order it via your phone and you can't say, go to a parking lot and sit there until it's ready. And when it's ready, so say you're in the front there, by Bacchus Avenue, and you can see that in the queuing here that there's a lot of cars in the queue to pick up. So the person in the parking lot, I guess, would they know enough to go around and then get it at the back of the line? How's the traffic flow to do that?
So from a traffic flow standpoint, all of the area, we'll call it north of the building. So after you enter the property and then you take an immediate right, that's all one-way circulation. So it kicks, there's directional arrows that are placed to kind of kick everyone circular around the building. So if you were to be sitting in one of these parking spaces, you'd actually be forced to do one-way circulation around the building and then back into the queue lane. That being said, we are not expecting more than 2 to 3 people. I know we show 8 cars because this, from a zoning requirement standpoint, is considered a fast food user. So we're held to a different standard, but we're not expecting that many cars to be there from our analysis and some studies we've done.
Okay, thank you for that. So you're saying basically that there's going to be enough signage either on the ground or somehow so that everybody knows it's all one way, and they would just pick it up that they have to go around if they're up front there.
Yeah, I've kind of zoomed in. We have a pull order ahead. There's no menu boards. It's a lot of directional signage on site, directing customers to where they need to be.
All right, good. All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Mr. Kiokio.
Thank you for that. That answered my question. I had a similar question from Helen. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, also, Mr. Chairman, can I
Please.
just, I don't know whether this is the time to do this, but I read through the response notes and not everything seemed to be answered. And some things are in the wrong place, it looked like to me. Underwater, there was an item B, water, and then there was stuff about the sewer systems in there. Question 6 wasn't answered. So, and then there was a fire department item, about a turning radius, which I'm not sure if that was answered 100% either. So maybe we're still in the middle of this, I'm getting the feeling, and we still have to finalize some things that might have been in that list. Is that so or not?
Jen, you want that one?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Helen, so the revised plans were submitted late in the day, Thursday, and we distributed the map sets and responses to the fire marshal, engineering department, and construction services, I believe. And we're still waiting for responses to come back, including mine. I haven't had a chance to look at the revisions either. So I would expect, if the commission decides to close the hearing tonight, which I think, if there's any, outstanding issue, it would be small, and could be addressed in a final staff report, which can be received after the close of the hearing. And those final staff reports could certainly be, if the commission provided guidance, could be conditioned in the approval.
Okay, so that answers my question. We still are in the process of getting approvals but you don't see any roadblocks, I guess. Okay.
No, I call them deal breakers, things
Deal
that,
breakers,
2 weeks ago, the reason we'd continued the hearing is because we'd had some deal breakers. We weren't ready to close. So between myself, Ward, and the project team, we got most of those resolved, if not all of them. I think whatever's left are very minor.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for that update.
Thanks.
Thank you. That really answers any questions I had as well.
Great. Attorney Mizuko, is there anything else at this time?
No, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the information that we wanted to get before you tonight. We would welcome the opportunity to close the public hearing and finish the process of satisfying the city departments as Jen suggested.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? And Mr. Rotella?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A query through you to the petitioners, particularly, well, perhaps anyway, Attorney Mizuko. It was my understanding at the first meeting that the entrance and exit on Bacchus would be closed. And Ward tonight talked about some signalization issues. I have no idea what they're talking about, and I was hoping that someone, that intersection, it's the light, wherever you're coming from, the light seems like it's red so much. I'm surprised I'm not in my car at that intersection right now. It's amazing I ever get out of there. But if that's going to be changed or something, I'd like to hear about it. So if somebody again through you could explain that to me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for directing your question through the chair. Ward, would you like to respond to that?
The amount of traffic that our project adds to that intersection is very small. And so the only thing that the city traffic engineer was concerned about was to have a 360-degree video camera traffic detection system, which we've agreed to essentially furnish through the cash contribution. That was the only improvement that he felt was necessary, and we're meeting that. And we did close off the turn-in from Bacchus Avenue at a very early stage because that was a request from planning and from traffic.
Thank you for that. And for the record, if that's the case, I remain in favor of the project and good luck with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rotello. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, commission members, this one's been around for a while. It sounds like we sanded off the rough edges here. Unless there's anything else for the applicant or for the staff, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
based on remarks from staff, I would like to have this a public hearing closed.
Motion made to close. Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Sylvain. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The public hearing is closed. Would someone like to make a motion to move this to item 3 under old business?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to move this to item 3 under old business. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. So this matter will appear as item 3 and be moved to item 3 under old business. And at this time, we'll move right to our old business agenda. Old business for discussion and possible action. Item 1, the Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocesan. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Diocesan Corporation?
Right, diocesan.
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 Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That one threw me off. Application for revised special exception, revised site plan approval for construction of additional mausoleum in the RA40 zone, 71 Lake Avenue, E15114, special exception 305, and the draft resolution of approval was distributed. Jen, do you want to take us through that?
I sure can, Mr. Chairman. So this is one of the shorter resolutions I've done in, I think, the past year, year and a half.
We like the word, Jennifer. We
I
like
know. Try to be brief when possible. So St. Peter's is proposing to permit an 810 square foot mausoleum. Again, this is adjacent to the existing mausoleum. The whereases set up the application, go through kind of the history of the process with the planning commission. Page 3, again, standard conditions. They have to file the grant of special exception, provide evidence to the ZEO that the special exception's been filed, and prior to zoning compliance, provide a certification that the storm drainage, and it was a very small system, if you remember, it had to take care of the roof leaders, that drainage system has been installed in accordance with the approved plans. And that is it, if anyone has any questions.
Questions for John, draft resolution? Anyone? Pretty straightforward, nice, simple one. We'll take those when we get them. All right, unless there's any other comments, I'll entertain a motion to accept the resolution of approval.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the approval of the, what am I calling it? Response.
Resolution.
Thank you. With the conditions therein. That should do it.
Thank you. A motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Kiokio. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This matter, I should say, the resolution of approval with conditions is approved. We'll move right to item 2 on our old business agenda. Laurel Draper, application for floodplain permit for modern self-storage with 12 Great Pasture Road, L16010, special exception 782. Jen, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, so I am gonna try to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. So if you recall earlier this year, maybe not quite earlier, June, the Planning Commission approved 59,000 square foot, 3-story self-storage facility. That big gray box is the self-storage facility. The floodplain, I'm gonna see, let's see, I'm gonna annotate. See here, see if this works. This is the 100-year. Can you see it right here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a very bad line. That purple line is the 100-year flood. There's also wetland markings in there as well, wetland flags. So everything within that 100-year flood, and it's an unnumbered A zone, which means we don't have any base flood elevations that FEMA set for us. However, given existing topos, what we've determined in-house is that based on the existing topography, the established base flood elevation is 356.5. So if you recall, during the course of the public hearing, it was determined that there had been previous previous grading activities that have happened since 2004. Even in the original application that, was for the warehouse building back in 04-05, there was some filling that happened in that area. So my staff report kind of goes through that. There was 123 cubic yards of fill placed in the floodplain under this application based on the work for that detention basin. There's actually 150 cubic yards of soil being removed. And actually I have a little bit of there was some confusion on the plan that Mike prepared, and I actually had him revise that. So I'll need to fix that number. It was a 0 net gain. The 27 cubic yards, there was a little bit of filling For the basin, there's actually berms that come up. So you have the bottom of the basin and then the berms come up to the top of the basin. That resulted in 27 cubic yards of fill. So Mike subtracted what was being removed, which is the 150. He brought in 27 cubic yards of fill, which resulted in basically 123 cubic yards. So it's a zero, it's a wash, basically. We're not getting any more fill, and whatever's been filled in the past has been removed. So it's a zero net gain. So no additional storage, but we don't have any additional fill either.
Good.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. So we also received the engineering department sign off last month. The engineering department looked at the grading and the storm drainage. They were fine with that. The finished floor elevation for the building is 365.1, which is 8.6 feet above the base flood elevation. So we have no issues there. So as part of the conditions, these are standard conditions. Even though the building is well above the base flood elevation, we'd still like to have an elevation certificate for the record. And then certification from the engineer that the project was constructed in accordance with the approved plans. Any
Great, Jen.
questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions for Jen? Again, pretty straightforward again. Unless there's any other questions or issues on this one, commission members, I'll entertain a motion to approve the draft of the floodplain permit.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
As amended, please.
As amended. Okay. Was there a second?
Second.
Mr. Sylvain, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The floodplain permit is approved. We have two referrals. I'm sorry, no, I'm going too fast. We have an item 3 under our old business for discussion and possible action, the public hearing that we closed a short while ago. G&J Partners, Danbury Retail Management LLC, application for special exception site plan approval for 1 fast food restaurant, section 5A2B16, 2 drive-through use, section 3E8, 3 medical office, section 5A2B14, and 4 cumulative uses generating over 500 vehicle trips per day, section 3E2. In the CG20 zone, 1 Sugar Hollow Road, G17001, special exception 788. The public hearing was closed this evening. Anyone like to make a comment for Jennifer? Thoughts, direction on this application?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'd like to just readdress just for, a sentence or two that we still have some open issues. Jennifer is working very hard and the staff is working very hard to close those. And so based on the fact that they will be closed, I'm in favor of passing this application.
Thank you, Helen. Anybody else? Bob, Perry?
Yep, I agree. I agree with Helen. No real issues here as long as staff and all the departments are happy. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Same here, so long as those concerns that are outstanding are met and things are headed in that direction, we think all the remaining items can be met, then I see no problem.
And I agree. I think the revisions are appropriate. I, just for the hell of it, about 5 o'clock today, took another ride through the parking lot. It looks good. So I'm in favor of it as well, Jen. So I think you have your guidance.
Thank you. And if I could just note quickly, some of the conditions certainly will include outstanding comments from the engineering department, myself. There'll be a condition about the floodplain permit. Certainly a condition about the lump sum payment for the video detection cameras. The airport to make sure that the heights aren't exceeded from what was presented. And I think work within the right of way. So fair, standard conditions, but there's some extra ones in there that you'll see.
Okay, well, I think that resolution will be a little longer than the other one we did this evening.
Just a bit.
Okay. Commission members, know we have 2 referrals this evening, an 824 and an 83A. So we'll do the 824 first. 824 referral, September City Council Agenda Item Number 3, a request for water line and hydrant easement, 102 Milton Lane, 14014. A staff report dated September 14th was distributed on this matter. And again, Jen, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is fairly straightforward. Caroluzzi's, which you all remember, the commission approved back in 2014. They've been diligently building that the past couple years. I actually believe they're open, but this has to do with the water line and hydrant easement, acceptance of the easement. Again, this was part of the standard 8 steps for the water line. Staff has no objections.
Questions for Jennifer? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for a positive referral.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for a positive referral.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sylvain. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This matter gets a positive referral, and we'll go right to the 83A referral. Petition of D&B Wellness LLC, DBA The Botanist, to amend Section 3C4E6D of the zoning regulations, change distant measurement from residential zone boundary for cannabis hybrid retailers and cannabis retailers. Zoning Commission public hearing scheduled for September 27th, 2022. There were links with information, including the staff report included in the agenda. Jennifer.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So you should all have a copy of Sharon's staff report dated September 15th. I will go through this. I try not to read verbatim, but this is important comments that Sharon made that I will go through. So I apologize ahead of time for reading verbatim. Zoning Commission received a petition, again, from D&B Wellness, doing business as The Botanist, to amend Section 3C4 e 6D of the zoning regulations, which provides for a distance requirement for a cannabis hybrid retailer or a cannabis retailer to a residential zoning district boundary and the method of that measurement. The current regulation requires that a lot upon which either establishment is proposed be no closer than 200 feet from a residential zoning district boundary, and that the distance be measured from the lot line of the parcel proposed for said use to the residential district boundary. The petitioner seeks to amend the language of this subsection to measure the distance instead from the main pedestrian entrance to the residential district boundary. The reason for the petition is noted in italics. Sharon's gone through that. If you recall, the zoning, City of Danbury zoning regulations governing cannabis establishments became effective last month, specifically August 13th. And again, this was after careful consideration from staff in the Zoning Commission. The distance requirements that were approved and how such distances are to be measured were those deemed most appropriate to protect the public health, welfare, and safety based on the individual cannabis establishment. The zoning districts within which these two uses are allowed by special exception are the CG20 and the CA80. Since there is the potential for varied placement of such establishments on any lot and therefore their entrances, amending the language as proposed could actually reduce the required distance from a residential district, zoning district. This could result in locating these uses closer to residential neighborhoods, which is contrary to the purpose of the distance requirement. The regulated use is concentrated on the lot upon which it's located, not solely at the front door. The use, it encompasses the entire parcel, the subject lot. It's not just at the front door. So measuring the distance from the lot line is the most conservative methodology to help ensure the minimum distance is maintained and uses are separated, notwithstanding the location of a building on a lot. This method of measurement protects residential zones and the predominant residential uses allowed therein from potential impacts associated with cannabis hybrid retailers or cannabis retailer establishment uses. with respect to compliance with the POCD. It's questionable as to whether the commissions could find that amending the language of the regulation in a manner that could reduce the distance between these uses in a residential zoning district is consistent with the vision statement of the POCD and the POCD's underlying concern for the protection of residential neighborhoods. In conclusion, irrespective of where a cannabis hybrid retailer or a cannabis retailer establishment is located on a lot, or where the pedestrian entrance may be for such use, maintaining a 200-foot distance from a residential district boundary by measuring from the lot line as opposed to building entrance within the lot is the most protective of residential districts, and the use is allowed within said districts. The regulation as approved protects the public health, welfare, and safety. Staff does not support the proposed amendment. Any questions?
Would anyone like to comment? Perry, please.
Yeah, I feel like we're a bit stuck here that, for the reasons Sharon outlined, such a change wouldn't be warranted, but it's just a little frustrating because it's one of the reasons I asked the question when we approved these zoning changes, whether these distances had been vetted against existing businesses or intended businesses that we were aware of, just so we would avoid situations like this, because I feel like we're a little stuck now between, this decision and the fact that you have a business that moved to Danbury to invest in expanding with this intended use in mind. So, again, I feel we're kind of stuck, but just wanted to share that it's a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with Perry. I'll save my comments till the end unless anyone else wants to comment at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I agree as well. I think that although I do think that we've had similar restrictions, for example, for liquor stores, and it seems to have worked well in the past without too many issues there. And this is still very new for everyone here, and while I can really feel for the applicant, I'm not sure we want to really make a change so quickly before the first retail establishment starts already. So, and again, I really do feel for the applicant, but I don't know that it really is warranted at this time.
Thanks, Bob.
I'll agree with what was said as well.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, this
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
if I may, unless you want to go, I would just like to interject a bit, but I can wait until you're done. If you
Yeah, let me just get my comments out of the way. And again, as chairman, I've always tried hard to focus on Danbury Planning Commission issues, not federal issues or state issues or social issues, because that's not really what we do here. But if you'll indulge me for just a second, the cannabis issue in this country is an incredibly awkward and bizarre arrangement, and we all know what the story is. On a federal level, it's a Schedule I drug. It's illegal on a federal level. However, many states, I don't have the number in front of me, have approved it on not only for medical use, but for recreational use. It's somewhere around 35 or so for medical, and then maybe 19 or 20 for both medical and recreational. So you have this very, very awkward situation where it's illegal on the federal level and legal on the state level. So what the heck do you do? What do you do? I mean, I know a little bit about banking, and I do know that the banks struggle with this terribly, because you've got this multi-billion-dollar industry that's illegal on the federal level, and banks are regulated on the federal level, so they can't open accounts. These businesses don't have access to banking services, so there's enormous amounts of cash, and it's an invitation for fraud and tax evasion. It's a real problem on a national level. So here we are. Now it trickles down to the municipal level. So what are we supposed to do? we're trying to build regulations with no historical data to do the best we can to deal with this reality, with this, again, the state versus the federal. So we have a situation where we allow these in two zones, CG 20 and CA 80. And if we're trying to keep those separate from the residential boundaries, the residential districts, and the rule is 200 feet. So if you have I guess if you have a piece of land that's CG 20 or CA 80 that is adjacent or abuts a residential district, you can't put an establishment on it because it's too close. So there's got to be this 200-foot thing in there. And the question becomes, do we measure it from the property line or the entrance to the facility? And you know, this, I mean, yes, it would vary by site, but I mean, basically, we're pushing the facility a little farther away from the residential district. And I think Perry said, that's great. I mean, you know, but this 200 feet, is it really a situation where if it's 200 feet away, it's completely safe, completely accepted, completely legal, but if it's 200 feet closer, the public health, safety, and welfare is a disaster? I don't know. This is, Jennifer mentioned, it's a very conservative. Our first shot at these regs were conservative, but they're going to change because everything's going to change. The federal level is going to change. The state, sooner or later, this is going to be legal in all 50 states, medical and recreational. We just all know that. It's just a question of when, the administration, blah, blah, blah. But so I look at this, I just don't know what to say other than with regard to the botanist, that location on Mill Plain Road, there's got to be a way to fix this. I mean, because I think in that particular case, we're talking about, I mean, as I look at, we're talking about like 25 feet. I mean, what the hell difference does it make? 25 feet. There's got to be a way to fix this outside of changing the regs. There has to be. There's got to be a method, because I understand we just put the regs in and they're not, the paper isn't even dry, the ink isn't even dry on the paper, and now we're amending them. I know the argument. But I also know that there's no historical data upon which to base our new regs. This is all new. It's just a very, very difficult, confusing issue. And at that, I'll stop talking, Jen. I'll leave it at that. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. So just to reiterate how the regulations read, the measurement is based on the lot line, not where the front door is. The front door can be anywhere on the lot. It could be on the back, it could be in the front. It's based on the lot line and that distance to the boundary. Again, that provides the most protection to a residential neighborhood. And they exist throughout the city, where you have, albeit a CA 80 along Mill Plain Road, and you've got a corridor and you've got residential behind that. The same with the CG 20 zones. You've got a corridor and you've got residential behind that. So the method of measurement, again, is a conservative approach that takes it from the lot line, because that building can be anywhere on the lot within, of course, zoning regulations. And that door can be anywhere. We can't regulate that. So, and just as a response to how the measurement came to be, the setting of the 200 feet and that measurement, that distance, isn't an arbitrary number. Sharon reviewed numerous regulations from numerous states, municipalities within Connecticut. It was a wide reach to come with that requirement. Again, what she found was this was one of the more conservative approaches. There were some that had a greater distance, that had a different type of measurement. This is what we felt was best for the city of Danbury to protect the residential districts. This was, again, the most conservative approach. And it consistently protects these residential neighborhoods, as opposed to based on where the door is, or where the building is and the front door is. It's a consistent approach. and we know which properties are excluded and which are not, this opens the door to so many more properties along these big corridors where we see CA 80 and CG 20.
Yeah, I'm all for protecting residential neighborhoods, but I guess I'm just a little, I don't know, protecting them against what? What are we protecting them against? I mean, people, a business that's selling a substance that the state has deemed to be legal and acceptable for medicinal purposes and recreational, what are we protecting them from? I mean, at liquor stores, no problem. We all know the problems associated with alcohol. Are they the same problems associated with cannabis? Are they the same? Do we have any documentation on it? Do we have any examples of how this was, one of these was put too close to a residential neighborhood and the quality of life went right down? Do we have anything on it? So that's why I read this and I'm like, I'm all for tough on crime, protect the neighborhoods. What are we protecting them from? Go ahead, Bob.
I agree mostly with what you said, but and I'm not against recreational marijuana whatsoever. I don't have any issue with it, but I think you have to start someplace, and we really don't have a lot of history of what could, you know, what could happen or what we're protecting against. So I think we need to take a stab someplace, and I think we need to get a little bit of history first, and then decide whether we're too conservative or not conservative enough. And I understand. So you mentioned liquor stores. You know, is this different than liquor? I don't know. Some people say yes, some people say no. So I just think we need to I think we need to let the regs stand at this point, and let's get some history behind us, and then you know, then make an adjustment as we see fit, or maybe not. Maybe it was the right call to start with.
Thanks, Bob. Perry, go ahead.
I agree with Bob on the whole. My only thing, and I may be overstepping my bounds here, but just trying to be creative and make this work. I'd be curious if there are any regulations out there that would allow for a reduced distance based on a perimeter fence that restricted access to just the pedestrian entrance or something like that. If there were any that existed out there, perhaps they're worth taking a look at. But again, just trying to be creative and figure out a way to make this work.
Yeah, and Sharon did a ton of research on this, and by no means am I trying to, you know, to say that we went into these regs without doing proper research and documentation. I know we did, but I still look at this thing and I'm like, you know, there's got to be a way to sort this one out. There has to be. There has to be. It's just without changing the zoning regs. There has to be a way to fix this. So anyway, anybody else want to comment on this one? And if not, I'll need a motion. And again, be careful how you make the motions, because you can make a negative referral. And then again, when you vote yes, it means no. So I just want to make sure that everyone's clear. We make, for these referrals, we make either a positive or a negative referral. And you have to be careful how you do that. So go ahead, Joe.
And be sure you give me some reasons, because, you know, for the motion, I need to know why you're making that particular motion. Okay, either because it agrees with Sharon or because you don't, you know, with the staff report. Refer to the staff report and the plan of conservation and development. Thank you.
Okay, with that said, who wants to make the motion?
I'll give it a stab. I'll make a motion for a negative referral based on Sharon's staff report, including the plan of conservation and development. I guess we'll leave it right there for now, and based on the discussions and my previous comments.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Good, then we got it on the table. Okay, so remember, a yes is for a negative referral, a no is not for a negative referral. Okay, everyone clear on that? I'll take a roll call vote just to be sure. So again, a yes is for a negative referral, a no is not for a negative referral. Ms. Hofstadter,
Yes, for a negative referral.
Mr. Kiokio,
Yes.
Mr. Sylvain,
Yes.
and the chair will vote no. So there's 3 yeses, 1 no. This matter will get a negative referral to the zoning commission, which again will be holding a hearing on September, whenever it is, September 27th. So that's that. Commission members, if you look at your agenda, there's only one item under new business coming up. Will be a new public hearing. Looks like there's the word cannabis in there too, so we can have this whole debate again. Won't that be great? That's on November 2nd, 2022. Anything else, Jen?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, hearing nothing else, commission members, unless there's any other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good night.
Good night.
Good job.